Good morning, children. Children, we are today again with the new topic, that is lesson number 4 of political science, electoral politics. So, in my previous videos, we discussed about the constitution, the constitutional design. We also discussed about how a constitution was framed. But today, in the new video, we'll start with the new lesson, that is electoral politics. Now, children, all of you must be aware of the term elections. What are elections? I taught you in my previous video in the chapter of democracy that democracy is based on the concept of elections. Because if elections are not there, then there is no meaning of democracy. So in this lesson we are going to study about importance of elections. We are also going to study that how elections are held, what are the different steps of election we'll study. Then we'll study about the different constituency. In that we'll study about reserved constituency. We'll also study that how counting, conducting of vote and all different aspects about voters list, all these things we will discuss. We'll also discuss that how free and fair elections are being conducted. So in short, we'll discuss all the aspects about elections and how elections are held in India. So let us first start with example of one state in India named Haryana. As in all the lessons, it is explained with help of example. In this chapter also an example is given. And the example is regarding the Haryana elections, assembly elections. So Haryana assembly election was held in year 1987. In 1987, Congress was ruling in Haryana. Children, all of you know about the Congress party. And when Congress was ruling in Haryana, but people were not satisfied with the rule of Congress. As people were not satisfied with the Congress rule, it happens that when people are not satisfied with one party, another party and other leaders take advantage of that. The same thing happened in Haryana. In Haryana, emerging leader at that time named Devilal. He was the leader of the party and the name of party was Lokdal. He took advantage of the situation. He thought that at present people are not satisfied with Congress rule. And he thought that I will take advantage of the situation, and he started campaigning among the people. You know very well that before elections, campaigning takes place. And in his campaigning, in his election manifesto, he said that if his party, that is Lokdal, people give vote to his party, what he will do? He will waive the loans of the farmers. You know very well that still India is an agricultural country. I have taught you in economics. So he told that if he will be voted by the people, if people will elect him, the first and foremost thing that he will do is he will waive the loans of the farmers and the small traders and businessmen. You know very well that today in India, the farmers, they are still poor. The zamindars, the big farmers, they are only rich or they only have the self-sufficient money. Otherwise, most of the farmers, they do the work. You remember the chapter story of Palampur in which I taught you about that how the small farmers take loan from the zamindars. So mostly the small farmers and the medium farmers, they had taken loan from the zamindars. So they thought that it would be very nice that if we elect Devilal and after coming to power, he would waive our loans. Waive our loans means whatever loans they had taken, they now don't have to repay those loans. So due to this, when elections were held, the farmers of Haryana and the people of Haryana also, the small traders, businessmen, they thought that if this Lokdal party will come to power, they will do something for us. And after the results, 90 seats were there. From 90 seats, most of the seats, 60 seats were won by Lokdal party. And the Lokdal party formed government in Haryana with the alliance of other party and it ruled Haryana. But his rule of Lokdal party also did not continue for a long period of time. Once again election was held and after 3 or 4 years, Congress came to power. So this story just have explained you. This is the real incidents in Haryana Assembly election. Just to tell you about the importance of elections, that how elections are important in democratic country. So like this, elections were held, and in elections, Lokdal party came to power. So after this example, first let me explain you that why do we need elections, children? You should know that. Why elections are essential. As I taught you in my previous class in the chapter of democracy, that elections and democracy are interrelated with each other. If we claim that in India democracy is there, and after democracy if elections are not there, then that it is meaningless. Suppose imagine a country in which just the leaders are appointed, they are chosen on the base of qualification, on the base of experience. If it is decided today also in India that no elections will be held and a person who is most experienced, who has more age or is most qualified, he or she will become Prime Minister of the country. Children, do you think that this will be the right decision? The most qualified person, the most experienced person can be a good leader. It is essential that he has leadership quality. It is not so. Many a times it happens that a person who is not so qualified, who is not experienced also, and who has no good qualification, that person also has got leadership quality. That person can only represent a country. That person can only be elected in a country who is more experienced, who has got leadership quality. So for becoming minister or for coming in politics, rather than a qualification and experience, what is required? Leadership quality is required. And that is why if we just apply the formula of choosing, not electing, then it is not a real democracy. And you know very well that I have taught in the previous class also in broader meaning of democracy that in most of the country, and especially in India, which type of democracy prevails? Representative democracy. And in representative democracy, what happens? We elect the representatives. The whole country is divided into different constituencies. In different constituencies, the candidates of different political parties, they contest election, and the candidate who gets the maximum number of seats, he or she becomes MLA at the state level and MP at the central level. So like this, the election takes place in our country, and the party which get majority seats in general election at the central level, that party chooses the prime minister. Prime minister, who becomes the prime minister? The leader of the majority party becomes the prime minister. And at the state level, the elections are held. That elections are known as assembly elections. And in assembly election, what happens, children? In different constituencies, different candidates, they contest election. They stand in election. And the candidate which gets the maximum vote, he becomes the MLA of that uh, area. And what happens? That MLA, the majority party at the state, these different MLAs, they choose the leader of their party and that leader becomes the chief minister of the state. This is how after election, prime minister and chief ministers, they have been appointed. But children, how these things have been possible? It is only possible in democracy due to a mechanism, and that mechanism is known as what? Elections. Without this mechanism, this whole process of electing MLA, MPs, Prime Minister, Chief Minister would not have been possible. So as in India we have representative democracy, and as we have representative democracy, importance of election is more. Without election, representative democracy can never be there. If elections are not there, we cannot elect, but we have to choose. And if we are choosing, it is not a democracy. So this reveals the importance of election. The importance of election means, what is the importance of election? The importance of election is there. If democracy is there, elections are very essential. And that also, which type of elections are essential? Free and fair elections. Children, I taught you in my previous video regarding Mexico that elections were not held in a proper way. So, we have just dealt with the example of Haryana, that how elections were held over there. We also discussed about that how what is the importance of election, why do we need elections. Now children, we are going to discuss the third aspect of this lesson, the third point, that is what makes election a fair election, or what is democratic election. Elections are there, but how elections can be democratic? So to elections to be democratic, the first and foremost point is that election can only be known as democratic election in which universal adult franchise is being practiced. That means everyone should have a right to vote. We have discussed in a previous class regarding, I have given you example of Saudi Arabia, that in Saudi Arabia women are not given right to vote. We have also discussed about Estonia, that in that the minorities are not being given importance. We have discussed about Fiji, that in Fiji the natives, the original Fijians are given more preference and the migrants are not given importance. So this thing is also very important, that if elections, to be fair elections to be conducted, what is essential? Everyone should have right to vote. If right to vote is not given to everyone, suppose if in a country it is decided that only majorities will get the right to vote, then children, that election is democratic? It is not democratic. Elections to be democratic, everyone should have right to vote. Then second, the election should be held in a fair way. That means different type of malpractices, booth capturing, bogus voting, and the different wrong practices that are practiced in different countries should not be there. Just remember what I taught you regarding Mexico. That in Mexico what happened? PRI party practiced the wrong things, and what happened? That is not known as fair elections. So to be fair elections, it should be done fairly, and everyone should have equal participation. That means who wants to contest in election, they should get a chance. To be fair elections to be conducted, it should be such that a person who is most famous among the people, he should have the fair chances of winning. It should not be so that, suppose take for example, in previous elections or in elections of 2014, you saw that everyone was expecting that Mr. Narendra Modi, he will become the Prime Minister. BJP party will win. In the whole country, it was just assumed that BJP will come in power. And if result came, result would have been opposite, that if Congress would have won the election, then it was clear that elections are not held in a fair way. So if elections to be held in a fair way, the first and foremost condition is that a person who is most famous, who is expected to be win, he should win the election, not the other people, not the other candidate. So these are some of the conditions which should be fulfilled to become election democratic election. So in this part we have discussed about the importance of election. We have also discussed about why do we need elections. We have taken example of Haryana, that in how Haryana Lokdal party won the election. The 3 points we have discussed. And today again we'll discuss the next aspect that we are going to discuss, that is what are the different steps. Yes, the next aspect is should electoral competition should be there in elections or not. That means electoral competition is good or not, or different candidates who are contesting election, they should compete with each other or not. Yes, the answer is yes. If elections are to be held in a country and if candidates they don't have any competition, then that elections are meaningless. Different candidates of different political party, they should compete with each other. Children, you are seeing at the time of election what happens. Congress party, BJP party, the candidates, they campaign. They say that if they will come to power, they will be the best. They will work for the upliftment of people and they will frame good policies. So this type of competition is good, that different parties are campaigning and then they are saying that if they are voted, they will work for the welfare of the people. But if this But nowadays, the situations have changed also. Some of the political parties and leaders, what they do? They just come and levy allegations against each other. They pass personal comments. They just say or degrade each other and pass comments on the character of each one of them. So this type of competition is not good, children. Competition should be there, but fair and healthy competition should be there among the different political parties and different candidates. For winning election, they should not blame or levy allegations against each other. They should express that their own views, that what they will do when they will come to power. So in elections, what is, children? Competition is good, but that competition should be fair competition.